we're here to protect you and the ones that you love. It's a good feeling to know that our efforts aren't going unnoticed.
It actually brought tears to my eyes to know that we have this support.
You're welcome. I must just say you're welcome. It's stressful, but we're not going anywhere.
Welcome to another edition of our Bucknell University Head Coaches Panel, presented to us by our friends at Geisinger. We want to thank the folks at Geisinger for all that they're doing on the front lines each and every day. And through these coach panels, we have an opportunity to speak with our head coaches here at Bucknell and find out how each of them, as well as their student athletes, are handling the pandemic and keeping in touch with each other and moving forward through these days that are very uncertain for all of us. Joining me today on the panel are four of our head coaches, starting with Nathan Davis, who's in his 10th year at Bucknell, the last 5 of which he's been our head coach of the men's basketball program. Jeremy Cook, the head coach of our field hockey program, is completing his 12th year at Bucknell and is the veteran among our group today. And also joining us in his 9th year as the head coach of both our men's and women's water polo programs, John McBride, head coach of the best team in the East on the men's side this year. And our final coach this afternoon is Mike Binney, the head coach of our men's golf program, who just finished his 6th season already with Bucknell. So first of all, to each of you, thank you for taking the time out today to join us and answer a few questions. I'll jump right in with our first question. And it's one that I'm sure each of you might have a different answer depending on which program we're talking about. But when the pandemic hit and the news hit here at Bucknell, I guess with President Brodman's email, that the spring semester was going to be remote learning. And that was followed by a message that all athletics would eventually come to a close in the spring and student athletes would all have to go home as well. Where were each of you when you received that news? And then how did you convey that news to your student athletes? And I'll start with Coach McBride. Obviously, your men's program their season was complete because it's in the fall, but you were right in the middle of your women's season.
Yeah, we were on a bus in Long Beach, not a bus, a van in Long Beach, California, headed to a morning practice because we had a game that night. And on the team in my van said that they had just got an email that the season was canceled. And I hadn't gotten the email yet, so I said, well, until I get the email, we're going to go practice. So we went over and we trained. And then at the end of the training, I got the email and just drove back to the 5-minute meeting, and then we had to get the logistics of getting everybody back. So my assistant Hannah was on the phone all day trying to get flights for the next day. So it was a pretty quick meeting. The next day we were on a plane headed back to Lewisburg, and then I didn't really speak with them until I was done with dealing with the women, and after we had gotten back to Lewisburg. But most of the men were away on break and had to find their own way back to Lewisburg, so we weren't too concerned about them. Communicating with them about the cancellation. They were in their off season anyway. They had a good season, so they were.
And Coach Davis, men's basketball program had just finished up Patriot League tournament play when the news broke for you guys. How did you get the word to your team?
No, a lot like Coach McBride, all of our guys were going for spring break. Reached out initially by text message, and then got on the phone with them to try to talk to them. We were hoping to schedule an in-person meeting when they came back. We ended up not being able to do that. And they just did a Zoom a couple weeks later, try to kind of touch base with everyone and let people know where we were with what was going on. I mean, realities at the time, no one really knew anything. Knew a little less, probably a little more now than we did then, but just trying to make sure everyone was all right and getting adjusted, and they seem to be doing fine.
And then Coach Cook, obviously, with the field hockey program, the fall season was complete, but you, because of the news, you lost your non-traditional season in the spring. Where were you all? Your kids on break when it happened?
Yeah, they were scattered to the wind. Everybody was doing their own thing for spring break. It was, I think the students probably found out about the same time that we did that this was all going down. And obviously with Bucknell being a little bit ahead of the curve and, sort of being a little more proactive than some of the other universities, there was a lot of questions at first. And then you sort of, once that cascade sort of happened, where the domino effect of us and the Ivy League and everybody else canceling, it became a lot more real. And so we tried to organize a meeting similar to what Coach Davis said, but then we ended up deciding that that was a really bad idea, and so we did everything digitally. We use a couple apps to keep in touch with our team, and so there was a lot of messages going around on that, just making sure everyone was safe and everyone was accounted for and everybody understood what the situation was.
And finally, Coach Binney, you guys were probably on spring break competing.
Yeah, we were all down in South Florida in the Stewart, West Palm Beach area. It's typically what we do every year. We go down as a team. We play and practice all week long to get ready for the spring season, which is our championship season. We got the call Wednesday night, and since we were all together, we all basically got it at the same time. There was some significant disappointment for the guys, especially for Peter, my senior. Kind of took it in stride. We decided at that point we had 2 more rounds of qualifying on Thursday and Friday. We decided not to play those, and that we were just going to go out the next day, Thursday, and play a fun round of golf, which is exactly what we did, just to kind of cap the season off, if you will. Everybody's flights back were Saturday and Sunday. There was no reason to try to jump through hoops to get back any sooner than that, because the earliest we would have been able to do it was Friday. So we all mustered back at school between Saturday and Monday, and the guys got their stuff and headed out the door.
And obviously for any spring sport student athlete, it was devastating. And for all of our seniors, obviously it was devastating as well, the news. But Coach Binney mentioned Peter, his senior. What were each of you able to do for your seniors, if anything, to kind of thank them and celebrate them? And if you haven't done anything at this point, are you thinking about doing anything with that group? Let's start with Jeremy, Coach Cook.
We had our end of this season banquet in late February, and so we had a chance already as a group to acknowledge them and to sort of their accomplishments and to wish them well. And as a larger family, we get a lot of turnout from the parents for that. I've been keeping in touch with them and making sure that they're on track for whatever they had next. There's still a lot up in the air, obviously. And then we have a post-finals party on Zoom set up for them after exams are finished. And so we'll all get together with all the families and all that kind of stuff and kind of wish them well. And apparently it's a dress-up party, so we're all going to dress really nice and just have fun with it. So do the best we can.
Good. Now, Coach Davis, I know that Senior Day was played, obviously, with the last home game, so the seniors are celebrated at that game, but you weren't able to have your end-of-the-year banquet. Have you guys been able to send off your seniors in any certain way?
You know, our seniors honestly been so focused on just finishing up graduation and getting employed. So one of our guys, Ben Robinson's got a job in Charlotte, and then Bruce and Aubrey. So we've been working with them to help select agents, make sure that they're getting in situations where they can be trusted, people they can trust. I think they'll both have opportunities to go overseas and play. So that's really kind of been the focus of that. It never was really a group that was a rah-rah, like lovey-dovey, huggy group. Kind of on their own, and so we're trying to keep up with them and make sure that they're heading in the right direction and doing well. They seem to be doing pretty well so far.
And Coach McBride, obviously between your men's program and your women's program, 2 exceptional senior classes this year. Were you able to do anything for the seniors or send them off in any way?
Well, I had 4 seniors that actually stayed on campus that have been here, so I had an opportunity to have them over for Easter. But no, we haven't done anything. The plan is to hopefully have the women seniors back next semester for either homecoming or reunion, or maybe our invite, and do something special then. I'd rather do it in person if they choose to do it. Right now, much like Coach Davis, they were too busy worrying about other things and getting jobs and those types of things that they weren't really interested in doing anything like that. So we're going to try and have them back next semester and do something that way, a little more personal. And yeah, so that's all our plan is right now. The guys, we have an end of the year banquet in November or December. And so they're all set. Hopefully graduation happens in July. If it happens in July and they're able to come back, then then great. We'll be able to hang out then. So that's kind of what we're hoping on, what we're banking on right now. But otherwise we'll have everybody back next semester, those that can make it back.
And Coach Binney, as you mentioned, Peter is the only senior with your program. Does he have plans for next year, job front? What's going on with Peter then?
Peter, had he graduated, had we competed this season, would have probably turned pro sometime this summer and started that process of trying to play at some level professionally. With the advent of the extra year, he is looking at some graduate school opportunities. Obviously, he can't come back to Bucknell, much like Nate Sestina did this year with Kentucky. He's looking to play certainly would love to play at a Power 5 school. I think he has the ability to do that. And I've been helping him and working with him in that endeavor as far as touching base with some coaches and whatnot. It was good being down in Florida together as a team because we just kind of celebrated Pete's last few days before we all came back. And hopefully if commencement is postponed until July and we're able to come back to campus, we'll certainly do something then. But have not done anything that other than a few Zoom meetings. So that's what we're doing for Pete right now.
So that's a good segue into the next topic of conversation, and that is basically communication. Obviously, your student athletes, for the most part, I mean, Coach McBride has a few that are still here, but most of you probably, or all your athletes are scattered all over the place, and each of them are having a different experience in terms of learning at home and training at home. How have you each been able to, communicate with your student athletes, whether it's you directly doing it, or in some cases an assistant coach doing it maybe by position group, and then B, how about any communications or offerings you've been able to have with your alumni and families? I know that some of you guys have been doing some really great things there, and we've gotten some great feedback on some of the Zoom events that have happened in that manner. Coach McBride, let's start with you in terms of how communication is going.
We kept it the same as if we were in season, so it's still kind of that same organizational structure where I talk to the captains talk to the team. So I've met with the captains on both teams on a few occasions, but we haven't had any coach-led full team meetings. That's just because my culture, that's not what they want. So that's not what we do in season. So we've been trying to keep it as normal as possible. Of course, I'm always open to anybody that needs to talk to me or contact me. And there have been a few that have, but most of it is me and the assistants meeting with the captains meeting with the athletes. It's funny because the men's team had a Zoom meeting last night, and I asked one of the captains if they had talked about me, and he took a long pause. He said, "Actually, Coach, no one's mentioned you." And I said, "Well, that's perfect. Keep it that way." That's kind of how we run our program, and they're adults, and we try and teach them mental toughness and independent thinkers and all those things. So I'm sure if they had a problem and they needed to contact me, they would. But so far, so good. They've been doing great. I've seen pictures of them studying outside by the pool at their houses. I mean, I think the first couple of days were a shock, but now that they've gotten into a routine at home and doing their own thing, that they're good. So at least that's what the captains are telling me.
And I know that at a time like this, there's nothing really positive that happens, but I guess one of the things that's been more on the upside that's come out of the pandemic is the fact that a lot of people that haven't really communicated with friends or teammates or past classmates in years have started to reconnect. And I know you've had some really good Zoom sessions with your water polo alumni. Tell us how they've gone.
They've gone well. I mean, I've jumped onto a few of those Zoom, I guess we can call them parties. It's kind of fun just letting them, listening to them talk about the old days and whatever, sharing stories and having a good laugh. And so it's been good. It's been good there. The parents, we have open office hours that the parents can jump on every Monday at 1:00. If they feel like they need to jump on, and they can jump on and ask questions. First time it went well. We talked for about 15 minutes, and the second time it was 2 minutes, and then no one's got anything to talk about because we have no answers. We have no information to give, and through no one's fault, there's just no information to give. So, it started out really with a lot of energy, and now it's gone to, well, I don't have answers to any questions, so that's what I need to talk about. So
Yeah.
kind of where it's gone, not in a negative way, but just, we don't have answers. So.
Coach Davis, with the basketball program, can you not only talk about how you communicated with your current team members, but maybe also as well, what kind of communications you've had with the incoming recruits for next year as well? I mean, retention is a big thing for all of our programs, and certainly in this day and age when there's so many unknowns and questions out there, especially financially. How have the conversations gone with your guys that are coming in as freshmen next year?
They've been good. I think that a lot like Coach McBride with the returning guys, we've never been a big program meeting, so we've really just had one as an entire group on the Zoom meeting with everybody one time, and then I've done two individual guys, and our staff broken up with the guys. It's kind of who their main focuses are. So we've done with them and the staff member, and then just text and phone calls, trying to kind of keep track of everybody and make sure they know that, like Coach McBride, we don't have a lot of answers, but we're here to try to any way we can. When we get out of exams, we're allowed to get back for a month and do some of that stuff again. So we'll do that again. We're putting some stuff together to kind of go with them at that point. Then, as far as recruiting goes in basketball, it's become with the new rules and what looks like is coming down the pipe with transfers. I know it's different with transfer being eligible right away. That the spring's become a big time for that, and it's a lot. So really, the things we've been doing with the guys coming in is just trying to call, text, and a couple of Zooms with them as well, just to get faces with. We're going to put them all together here shortly so they can get on together at one time. But we've done anything spectacular. And a lot of it just, like Coach McBride said, there's not a lot of answers. Just trying to keep face and keep building relationships and making sure they know that we care and we're going to be there to help them any way possible moving forward.
And Jeremy, in terms of the field hockey program, I've seen some really great communication pieces that you have put out that include pieces from your current student athletes and how they're dealing with being at home. So that's gone over really well. But how's the communication been with you and your staff, with the current team, maybe the incoming kids, and also your alumni?
Well, it's basically situation normal, just in a different format. I mean, we, because we're in a developmental, the spring is developmental for us. We do a lot of sort of character building stuff, or we do a book club. And so that's, meeting each week with each class. They run those discussions, and it's, sort of the book is an excuse just to get together and talk. So those meetings have been absolutely wonderful up until last week when we stopped for exams. Our alumni group, it's been really neat. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback, not just on the stuff that we're producing, but we've been turning over the social media stuff to the student athletes. And they're knocking it out of the park. Some of the stuff on Instagram is absolutely hilarious and just really, really funny and kind of really endearing, I think, and speaks a lot to what they're doing. And how much they care about the program. The alumni stuff has been great. I think you're absolutely right that people have been, through these, everybody's locked in their homes. And so because they don't have anywhere to go, they're having fun reconnecting with people that they haven't spoken with in a long time. And so we've been having a blast doing those, trying to hit one of those a week with a whole bunch of alums. And, they don't want to talk to me. They just talk to each other the entire time, which is absolutely wonderful. And so, you start off the conversation by exactly what McBride said is, hey, I don't know anything. I don't know anything more than you do. And then the conversation just goes from there and they have a blast. So it's been fun to see the support and how much this has honestly brought people together, even if it does keep us apart.
And finally, Mike, I had the opportunity to sit in on one of your alumni Zoom calls, and that was a great call that featured guys from all the way back in the early 60s right up to last year's graduating class. What other types of things have you been able to do, maybe either with your alums or with your current students in terms of keeping in touch?
Well, as you know, I've got a very small roster. I've only got 8 guys on the team, and much like Nathan, you get very tight with a small group of guys like that. So basically, we've kept in touch through group chat every day, and it's just very informal, information flying back and forth. We're not big on having structured meetings every so often. So I've had 3 Zoom meetings. The first Zoom meeting I had was with the parents. There was some trepidation and, kind of the unknown going forward, what it's going to look like in the fall. So I wanted to allay some of those fears. So I had a nice Zoom call with just the parents. The very next night is the night that you were on with the alumni and the students. And that was really cool because the alumni got to ask the current students questions, reminisce about some old times, and give them the old, yeah, you don't know what it's like way back when you didn't have a golf house or golf center and all the nice things that you do. So that was neat. And then seeing 2 or 3 of the alumni who hadn't seen each other in literally 40 years be able to connect online was a pretty special. And then I just had one last week, a little bit smaller attended, but we had some cross-generational folks on there. Coach Tufts was on, and some of my younger alums were on. So that was neat. I intend to have another one about every 2 weeks. So once it's past I think the compliance deadline is the 6th, the 8th. We'll probably have one on the 9th or 10th just to kind of wrap up the year with the students. And I'm also thinking about trying to bring a guest appearance on there. I got some connections, potentially getting a PGA Tour Pro to come on there and talk to the guys and just kind of have an open forum. I think would be real special for the guys. So that's the next thing in the pipeline.
So one of the other areas that's been a challenge, depending on what is available to a student athlete at home, has been training and how you stay fit and focused on your sport. And depending on what sport, it's obviously different. It's not as if a lot of people have a swimming pool in their backyard. Some may, but not all do. But you can pick up a basketball and play at a hoop in your driveway. So every athlete has to deal with it differently. What kind of stories have you guys heard in terms of out-of-the-box training methods that some of your students might be using? And then if any of you want to touch on the bridge and that platform and how our students are able to stay in touch with our strength and conditioning coaches, that would be great as well. And start with Coach McBride on the training of your student athletes.
Yeah, we've just been using bridge. That's all we can do. With no pools, unless places start opening up pools so a lot of people swim. I mean, you would think, right? Chlorine is supposed to kill everything. Logically, it makes sense that you'd be able to get in the pool, but for some reason, pools aren't open. So they've just been doing the bridge. I've been in contact with Matt and Nicole, and they've been doing a tremendous job with getting our athletes motivated, creating competitions in the lifting groups. And, now that summer's here and we can't monitor anymore to see how it's working out. We're just hoping that they maintain. It's not as important for the team because they'll have a full semester to get back in shape, but the men really need to follow the bridge and work hard. But there haven't been any interesting, cool ways to work out. I mean, we're a water sport, so unless we have water, we just can't do anything. And I don't want them running because if you've ever seen a water polo player run, it's probably more dangerous than driving a car. So we just stick with the bridge, and the bridge is fantastic. I'll tell you what. I mean, if without the bridge, I don't know where we'd be. This semester has been great to hold them accountable and see what they're doing, and then as far as their communication with the strength coaches and stuff like that. I mean, I know the strength coaches have been sending extra videos asking them what kind of weights they have in their house or what they can utilize that, maybe they don't have weights, maybe they can do something else, and, putting books in a backpack and doing weird things. So, so it's been good. I mean, it's awesome having bridge, and we're very fortunate to have it, I think, in my opinion.
And Coach Binney, obviously, most of the golf courses have not been open, so I'm assuming your guys can't get out and work on their game on an actual golf course, but what types of things can they do to keep things sharp?
Well, I would slightly disagree with that statement because my guys are finding creative ways to get on courses in states where the courses are closed. I'm not going to name any names, but they're sneaking out on their private courses and playing a few holes here, a few holes there, and making it work. Several of the guys are in states where the courses are not closed. Alabama and Tennessee are not closed, so my guys from those states are playing on a regular basis. So we're actually able to get some things accomplished in addition to the bridge work. Matt's done a great job getting the exercises out to my players. As far as affecting their overall ability to train in the gym, it's probably the least impactful on the golfers because you can do all the workouts that we do in the gym at your home with a stretching band and a couple of dumbbells. So it's actually less impactful on us as compared to, like, say, the football team or the water polo team and the basketball team and the field hockey team. So. Yeah.
So, Jeremy, with field hockey, what kind of stories have you heard with the young ladies trying to keep in shape and fit?
The adjustment to sort of a little bit more of a body weight or what you've got around the house kind of thing, rather than using, complex machinery or Olympic lifts and that kind of thing. Our strength coaching staff has done an absolutely awesome job. And I echo what McBride and Coach Binney said in terms of the bridge stuff. It's neat. This is the way that they absorb information, is using sort of digital, on their phones. They can see it, they can do it, they can log it, they can track it, they can look at each other's stuff. It's created sort of a social atmosphere around their working out, even when they're away from each other, which is huge. The feedback that we've got has been overwhelmingly positive. Like, just getting out of the house and going for a 30-minute run for us. Like, we've toned down our short distance and explosive stuff and just focus more on an endurance base. And so they can go for 30-minute runs 3 or 4 times a week, changing the tempo of those. And they've been having a blast with it. We use another app called Strava, sort of tracks your route. And so we can all see each other's routes and, click on a little heart and, give someone, kudos for doing a good job on a run. So that's been fun to watch. Some of that goes away now that they're in their exam segment and over the summer in terms of the coach involvement in that. But the way that they've embraced it, the student athletes are really keen on keeping that up themselves.
And Coach Davis, I would assume that the guys on your team are also very active on the bridge and getting a lot out of that.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I don't know that I want to rehash everything everyone else said, but I thought they hit it on the nail on the head. I think for us, really with basketball, one of the great things is so much of it is explosive and it's changed over the years, the way you train. And our guys can do a lot of stuff and get a lot out of doing body weight stuff. Mentioned having baskets. We have a number of guys. I think we only have 2 guys with access to baskets right now, but the one that they have is a sidewalk or driveway, so they can always go out and dribble and do those things to get good, to improve and feel better with the ball. But our big message has been, look, everyone's the same across the country. There's not a whole lot most people can do. We're not in any worse shape than anyone else, but the most important thing is to make sure that you stay safe, your family stays safe. You don't get anyone in. Do what you can. They can get a lot out of doing body weight stuff, just having the ball in their hands to handle it. As soon as they can get back at it and get the basket, we'll get back at that too.
So my last question for you guys today, and again, thank you all for taking the time to join us, is one that I'm sure is affecting every coach across the country in a huge way, and that's the changes in the world of recruiting with what's going on. How has this pandemic affected recruiting for your program? And I'll start with Coach Davis because I know there's no summer camps and there's no places to go watch kids play right now. So I guess videotape is really important.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think, fortunately, my staff is great, and they got a chance to go out and see a lot of the 2021s throughout the year. I had a little less chance to do that, but I got to see a few of them. So they're doing a great job of collecting video. I feel like I spend half my day every day just watching high school videos of kids playing, whether it's highlight tapes or full games, what have you, trying to get on and see as much as that. So much with basketball now, even is online. Things like Synergy, they do all the Nike and Adidas and Under Armour stuff. Back years is stored there, so we can go pull some of that stuff up and take a look if we want. But like you said, you're not getting out. You can't get a look to see how guys really fit athletically as well. That's different. But fortunately, like I said, our guys, we got a little bit of head start, so we got I think a pretty good list going, and I'm just trying to familiarize myself with it as best we can.
And Coach Binney, a program that's as small as yours is in terms of numbers, it's not as if you have to bring in a whole bunch of guys each year, but the 1 or 2 that you do bring in are going to be crucial to the success of your team. So how has this affected what you've been able to do with recruiting?
The way junior golf is structured, the summer between the junior and senior year in high school is the summer that you're recruiting for the next fall. So I normally wouldn't get hot and heavy into recruiting until after Patriot Leagues, until after the guys left school. That hasn't happened yet. So if things get back to normal in a very timely fashion, my recruiting timeline will be affected very minimally. I already have 1 verbal commit for 2021, so I'm only looking for 1 more guy, and I've got about probably 20 kids that I'm looking seriously at for that. So I feel pretty good about the class of 2021 in terms of having quality kids to look at and finding that one kid that really wants to come that matches up with our team chemistry.
And Coach McBride, you're not only recruiting for one program, you're recruiting for two. And oftentimes in your sport, the diamond in the rough may be found overseas. Look no further than Radi Joksimovic, who probably the best player in the country this year. How does this affect that type of recruiting that you might be trying to do? Or were you able to get enough of a jump on that prior to this coming down?
It hasn't affected it at all as far as the internationals go, because the foreign countries are opening up, and club teams out there are already getting into the water in small groups and practicing. So they're going to be able to give me tape, and if things continue to open up there throughout the summer, then hopefully I'll be able to stay with my plans to get over to Europe, Eastern Europe, and go watch some people play. As far as the United States goes, everything is shut down for the summer. All wonderful recruiting opportunities. So much like, I don't want to keep repeating what else is saying, but video has become very important. And the interesting thing is because the country's under quarantine and athletes at home don't have a lot to do, we're getting a lot more emails than we would have in the past. It's a great thing, just because now kids are at home researching schools, getting ready. So getting flooded with a ton more emails than we're used to, and watching a lot of video, and hopefully with two assistant coaches, we were able to send one of our assistant coaches out earlier in the semester to go recruit and watch some people play. So, we're all in the same boat, so it doesn't be an advantage or a disadvantage. It's just stay in contact with them and constant communication, like Coach Davis said earlier, and make them feel like we care and that we're interested in what's going on. And, we're all in the same boat, so there's no recruiting advantage one way or the other. So hopefully I can get to Europe this summer.
And finally, Coach Cook, I would guess at this time that relationships with the club coaches that you have really, and trust with those relationships really become paramount, because I guess there's only so much you can watch on videotape if you haven't seen a kid in person. So you're relying a lot on those club coaches and their opinions. So how has all the recruiting gone for field hockey?
It's interesting. So we're at the tail end of our recruiting for 2021 and the beginning of 2022. So the 2021s, we have one spot left for domestic and one spot for international that we're working on. And it's funny what Coach McBride was saying in terms of the internationals. We're communicating with those guys over a video chat anyway. And so that hasn't really changed much. They're unlikely to be able to come to visit campus. And so they're doing virtual tours and all that kind of stuff already. Our admissions office has put together some really wonderful virtual tour stuff in the last month or two, just to sort of make up that gap, because they know people can't get on campus. For the 2022s, you're absolutely right. The relationships become really, really important. We're spending a lot of time on the phone, a lot of time watching video with club coaches and things like that, just to narrow the search down for those 2022s. I think that the other piece of it is we're trying to basically chill everyone out, that, making sure that the students understand that they're not under the same pressure. The timeline's going to be a little bit different than it has been in the past, especially with the ACT and SATs that have been postponed. So everybody chill out, take your time, really try to figure out what the right school is for you rather than being rushed to a decision. But that's always been the way that we recruited anyway, so.
Right. Well, guys, I appreciate the time today. I hope you and your families continue to stay safe and healthy. For those of you that joined us today from home, thanks for joining us. You as well, stay safe and healthy and Bison strong. Thanks a lot and have a great day, everyone.